They say never. I say never tell me what to do. A person will never put you in a position above them. That's never a lie, always true. Success never comes without risk, and risk never comes without fear. YouTube is a smoke and mirror, never how it appear.
Okay. Um. Okay. What's up, everybody? This is your girl Shay back with another one. And you will not believe who I have on the line tonight. I can't believe it. Right? I know y'all probably can't believe it. The infamous ICEWATER. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, I see you. I see you. I see the picture you got up. I see it. Yeah. That picture was
You got to explain
that picture was from my daughter's graduation, and somebody had said something crazy to me, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? That's that who raised you. You know what I'm saying? That's that who raised you picture. That's how I'm looking like, man, who raised you?
You don't have that much to go on your platform. Oh Lord.
That's funny. That's funny. I ain't know that was the picture you was gonna use. That's what's up though.
Are you upset about it? Are you upset about it though? Really?
Oh no, it's all, man, come on now. Anything a person put on social media, you know what I'm saying? They can't be mad if somebody else uses it. You feel me? Yeah. You putting it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's all
love. Okay. So this is the infamous ICEWATER, businessman, trucker, and you done dabbed into everything. You know, we talked a little bit on the phone here and there. Thank you so much for being on tonight. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I have such a small platform, so you know how they go. So people that don't know who you are, tell them who you are.
Man, I'm just a little man that drive a truck. I guess that's all it really is to me. You know what I'm saying? I got a YouTube channel where I try to provide some helpful information for people in the trucking industry, and sometimes I'll do some other videos, mostly about just what I go through in trucking and some repairs and some problems that I run into, or anything that I think I've learned that could be useful to somebody else. I just try to put it out there so they can learn from it. So I guess you can consider me an owner-operator. I got my own authority, and I've been trucking. I had my own authority for, I guess, about 10 years now, man. It seemed like it was just yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on my exit plan, my transition out of trucking.
Oh, really?
So that's who I am.
Okay. Hold on. Somebody trying to... I hate when they try to do something to you while you're on the live. So you have your own authority. How long have you had your own authority, if you don't mind me asking?
I had my own authority for almost 10 years.
10 years. 10 years, a long time. So I've watched different people online that have gotten their own authority and then lost. People that lost their truck. People that didn't stop having a fleet in their own authority. So what is the one of the key components that keep you successful, but having everything that you are responsible for when you have your own authority? Like, what's one of the main things that...
Say that again for me. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Like, what's one of the main things that keep you afloat and having you stay successful for 10 years with your own authority? Because some people not. Some people, it's too much for them.
I think one of the main things that keep me afloat is just understanding my value. Mm-hmm. A lot of people undervalue themselves, and then they find themselves in a predicament, because if you over leveraged and you undervaluing yourself, you put yourself in a lose situation from the beginning. And I just try to keep the overhead down and the profit margin high, and that's how I'm able to do it.
Okay. So, you know, I want to get my own authority soon, and we talked. You know, what besides the overhead? We talk about the overhead. What is number 2 Can you give me like the top 5 things that a person needs to check off before pulling the trigger and getting their own authority?
You asking me the top 5 things that a person needs to what?
Needs to check off their list.
As far as getting their authority or as far as maintaining their authority?
Both. Give us on both. Yeah, I'm gonna
Then
hit you
you asking for
tonight.
10, but
I'm
it's
gonna
all
hit you
good.
tonight. I'm gonna hit you tonight.
If I was trying to give you the top 5 things that you need to know about getting your authority, it's basically going to be knowing what your overhead is, because that's really going to determine whether or not you get your authority. And then, in knowing what your overhead is, you're going to have to determine what's the best insurance for you, because that insurance payment you're going to have to make monthly, and that's outside of any other payments that you got to make. So you realistically, you want to keep your insurance payment between $1,000 to $2,000 a month. If your insurance payment go over that, then you probably need to rework some numbers or get a different insurance company. The third thing would be to do research on whatever truck that you got, so you know what potential problems you might have, and you got some idea what direction you need to go in and how much money you need to put aside. The fourth thing probably would be establishing some type of business credit. And I think the fifth thing would probably be utilizing a factoring company or something like that when you first starting out, just to keep the cash flow coming in. And I know some people probably feel differently about factoring companies, but that's just my opinion. I think the first year, when you get your own authority, you should factor everything. And after that first year, then you should start working off a line of credit after you establish a history with a bank. So now we can move on to the top 5 things I think you should do to keep your authority active. And that basically comes down to doing you got to look at each load like it's your last load, and you got to do a profit and loss analysis on each load that you run. A lot of people want to look at it for the week, and they want to factor this, they want to factor that, but I think you need to look at it each load. That way you could determine what lanes you're going to run, and you got to establish some relationships with some brokers, so you're not just solely relying on the load board. What's the other thing you got to do to maintain? You got to work, you know what I'm saying? You can't be taking a lot of home time to maintain your authority, because it's all based on supply and demand. So when the work there, you got to work, and then, you know what I'm saying, you got to plan your other stuff around when the slow seasons. Another thing you got to do is, I don't know if I'm at 5 yet, but I'm going to stop here. You got to plan your trucking calendar out on a 9-month calendar instead of a whole year. And that would equate for the downtimes. A lot of people make a mistake and they look at it as it being a whole year, and it's really only 9 months when you're going to make some money. 3 months, you're going to make enough to get past. 9 months, you're going to make some money.
Okay. So you're saying don't look that you have the whole year available. You're saying 9 months of getting to what you need to get to. That's the first time I heard of that.
Yeah, by the time you take your home time, by the time you take days off, and then the slow periods when freight really ain't moving like that, it's going to come out to 9 months.
Okay. That's different. I ain't never heard of that one. 9 months. Okay, well, you ought to know you've been at it 10 years. So I ain't going to argue with you.
I know I know just enough to be dangerous. That's what they tell me.
Nah, you're not dangerous. You're not dangerous. Another thing is, we talked about it already, but I'm gonna ask you again. Why only stand solo? Why was it never an action to start a fleet?
Say that again for me.
Why you never wanted to start a fleet?
It's not that I never wanted to start a fleet. I've been around a lot of people who have multiple trucks, and most of them are not in business anymore. And for me, the individuals that I was around that I trusted enough to actually start a fleet and have them be a part of it, when they started working with me, I encouraged them to get their own authority. So I couldn't start no fleet with them because they branched off and did their own thing. And then question might be like, well, why y'all don't come together and do this? We all like to run different. You know what I'm saying? Some of them like being at home. Some of them don't mind. So coming and putting together a fleet like that wasn't really going to work. And as far as me just putting together an individual fleet, where I'm at, it's hard to find some really good drivers or people who going to be invested in my company like I'm invested in my company, and this is how I eat. So I'm just not willing to take that risk and put it in somebody else's hands right now.
Okay. Okay. What else did I want to ask you? We talked about how much it costs you. Now, you know that I want to get my own authority out in Texas. How you feel about the freight in Texas, period, though? Is it just like Illinois? Because I know Illinois got freight out the wazoo.
Wait a minute. Ask me the question. What I think I heard you say is, how do I feel about you trying to get your own authority at this point right now?
No. How you feel about Texas freight versus Illinois? Because I know you based out of Illinois right now, right?
Yeah, what about Illinois?
How do you compare Illinois to Texas freight?
How do I compare Illinois to Texas freight?
Yeah.
I guess it would depend on the season and what type of trailer you was running. If we talking about dry van, I think that Midwest has better freight than Texas as far as dry van. If we talking about reefer, I'm going to say the Midwest has better freight than Texas, except during produce season. So, you know what I'm saying? It really come down to what you pulling or whatever. And if we talking about flatbed, you know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the Midwest got more freight than Texas because it produces more, except when it comes down to produce. And a lot of the produce is really coming out of Mexico. But since Texas right there, you know what I'm saying? You getting it coming across the border. So that's how I put that.
Okay. What else did I want to ask you? Any mistakes you made that you willing to share to anybody that's watching? Any mistakes you made when you first got your own authority? Like any things that you done?
Yeah, I got a whole series about like the mistakes I made on my channel, like a playlist. But one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first got my authority is I didn't know lanes and I didn't know prices. So when I first got my authority, I was hauling cheap freight, but I thought it was high paying freight, but I really never had nothing to compare it to because I kind of just jumped out there with my authority. And that's one of the reasons that I really make videos, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't big on going to YouTube and looking up trucking and stuff like that when I first started my authority. I just got on the dat load board. Days on the dat, but I just hopped on the load board and I started booking loads, and I didn't really know how to negotiate rates with brokers. I thought whatever rate they had, that's the rate that I had to take the load for. So that's like one of my biggest mistakes when I started running. And another mistake I made was believing what people said. Yeah, that was two of the probably biggest mistakes I made when I first started out. I thought everybody was honest.
You ever pull for Amazon? Do you pull any Amazon freight?
I pulled from Amazon a while ago when they kind of first started out with owner operators. I was kind of like that first little wave, and I was doing a lot of power only for Amazon. But currently, I don't pull for Amazon currently right now, just because of the prices that they're offering. The services that I offer are too good for the prices that they're offering me. I tell people all the time, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like the reward got to equal the risk, and it don't add up for me when I look at Amazon. So I don't pull Amazon freight currently. But let me say this about Amazon though. it's a lot of people pulling Amazon freight, and it's a lot of different scenarios that fall under the Amazon umbrella. So the freight that a one truck operation has access to is garbage freight, bottom line.
Really?
But if you got 3 to 4 trucks and you can get a Amazon rep that you can deal with, and you can, they call it contracted, but I'm not going to call it contracted because it's a blind contract, and that's a whole nother video. So I'm not even going to call it contracted. But if you got an Amazon rate if you got an Amazon rep that you basically giving your truck to, because that's what it comes down to. I don't know why people act like, oh, it's a contract. No, you giving them your truck. They run your truck how they want to run it. I ain't for that. You know what I mean? This is my truck. I'm going to pick and choose what I want to do and when I want to do it. So Amazon don't work for me.
So you saying they like to be more controlling over your business? Is not as from your standpoint, it's not what it's crept out to be. Because I done seen so many videos about pulling Amazon freight, and everybody screams Amazon freight to the heavens. You know what I'm saying? But not for you. You know what I'm saying? You have a whole different perspective, which is something different. Which my first time ever hearing it, really. You know what I'm saying? You the first trucker that say Amazon is not all that hot to pull for. The absolute first.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, Amazon, like, I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up. Now, granted, I haven't watched anybody videos about Amazon with this short-term contracts that they got, because they email me every day, and when they first started sending out the short-term contracts, they'll call you and they'll be like, you know, long story short, I looked at what they had to offer, and it's a blind contract. And I'm like, why would I commit to a contract when I don't even have all the details? All you telling me is the block of time, and you telling me how much money it's going to pay. But how do I know I'm going to make money with that without all that other information? I need to know where the truck going. I need to know where I'm going to be able to buy fuel at. I need to know what the toll's going to cost. I need to know all that. I can't make an informed decision just because you saying, oh, well, we need your truck for 7 days, and at the end of the 7 days, you're going to get X, Y, and Z money, and you're going to start from this terminal, and you're going to end in this terminal. That ain't going to work for me. So for some people, obviously people that work for people, but I deal with Amazon, and loads cancel. Then when the loads cancel, I got to submit some type of paperwork to get my money, because it ain't going to pay until after y'all invoice me. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff that I can't go into a blind contract knowing what I know about Amazon. Now, that's not to say that it won't work for some people. It doesn't work for me. But obviously, you see Amazon trailers all over the highway, so it's working for some people.
Oh, yeah, it
but
is.
I would be curious to see, it's a difference in making money and making a profit. I've always made money in trucking, but I haven't always made a profit, because if the good money coming in but good money going out, then you're really not making no money. And I'm afraid that a lot of people that's pulling Amazon freight, they looking at the numbers coming in, but they not talking about the numbers going out. So until I can see somebody who can, as they say, put it on the glass and show me where they making profit, I don't believe in them Amazon short-term contracts. And furthermore, I wouldn't want a short-term contract with Amazon. I would want Amazon to sign a long-term contract with me. Don't just use me when it's convenient for you, and then when things slow down, you kick me to the side. I'm not that type of person, and that's why I've been able to be so successful at trucking, because to me, it's not about the moment, it's about the movement, and I want to keep moving forward.
Get out your paper and pen, honey. Get out your paper and pen, you okay? Because this one...
Oh, they better get it ready, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, because every now and then I get clumsy and I drop jewels.
Yeah. No, you're not being clumsy. You helping. Don't call it clumsy. Don't ever call it clumsy. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. You know, I rock with you. I've been rocking with you for a very, very long time.
But I got a whole series about Amazon on my channel that they can go check out too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I called it The Good, the Bad, the Ugly about Amazon.
I definitely leave a link for it. I search and find leave a link for it. I probably missed that one of those videos. You've not been busy. What do you have to say for any of the ladies like myself? Like, because you know, how I feel about men and women in trucking is not, we not treated the same. You know what I'm saying? We're not
I'm
respected as
sorry, go ahead.
much.
Were you done? I'm sorry.
We're not respected as the man in trucking. Let's just, I mean, I hate to say that. You can say what you want, but we're not. And you know, I want to get my own authority. What's one of the biggest things that I need to watch my back for? Is it the company? Is it the brokers? Is it who's handling my accounting? Like, what's the biggest thing that I need to pay attention to when transitioning into this level of my career?
The biggest thing I think you need to pay attention to as a woman is you need, as women, period, but we gonna talk about you specifically. You need to be careful who you trust, because y'all women in this industry, they're not afforded the same liberties to make the mistakes that men can make.
Yes.
You know, men can make a whole bunch of mistakes and bounce back, but as a woman, you make one mistake and it's over with. You know what I'm saying? And it would also behoove you to have some good people in your corner who are males when you embark on this journey. Not to say that you can't do it by yourself, but being a black woman in this industry, the deck is totally stacked against you. Totally stacked against you. And I'll say this all the time. People don't mind you doing good as long as they don't think you're doing better than them. So you know what I'm saying? When moving forward as a woman, you gotta pretty much move in silence, because success breeds envy. You know what I mean? And that's just the way of life, you know. And people will take advantage of a woman way faster than they'll take advantage of a male. That's why it's important that you have somebody that got an ear in your corner, and they could be like, no, you know what? That's not right. And don't believe everything people say without them showing you proof. Because people will get on YouTube or people will get on the telephone and they'll say anything. But they won't back it up with no empirical evidence. You know what I mean? It'd be all circumstantial as far as I'm concerned. Because I could tell you I'm making $1 million a year in trucking, but if I ain't showing you my tax returns, then you probably shouldn't believe that. You know what I'm saying? Plain and simple.
Have you ever in the Lord? Have you ever experienced that? Because I've heard some horror stories.
Having my own authority, have I did what?
Have you ever had a vendor not want to pay you after you delivered a load? Have you ever experienced that?
No, I've never had a vendor not pay me after I delivered a load. And there's two things I want to say about that. Okay. That's why I suggest that when you first start out, you use a factoring company. Because a factoring company is going to help you weed out the bad brokers. And I know people going to go back and forth about should you factor or shouldn't you factor. Let me just be clear where my stance is on it. Your first year, you should factor everybody. And that'll help you, because if the factoring company not going to mess with them, you probably shouldn't mess with them.
Okay.
The second thing I'm going to say about that is, although I haven't had any experience on getting paid on a load that I've delivered, I have had experience with not getting paid fairly on detention, not getting all my detention, and not getting paid for a truck order not used. So I have experienced some payment problems with particular brokers, but it's never been on a line haul. It's always been on some accessorial charges.
I've heard some crazy stories. I've heard some people not getting paid at all. They only paid them half of their money because the load got there late, or all the things that they ordered wasn't in the trailer when it was delivered. I mean, I've heard it all when you have your own authority. It's not a joke. It's not something to take lightly. These people, they want to make money off the shit that you bring in on that trailer, but they can make millions of dollars off of one trailer, but they don't want to pay you. You understand? It's just, I've heard that.
But let me, I'm sorry, allow me to cut you off, please. But if it was a situation where I didn't get paid, I would immediately file on that broker's bond. A lot of people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? They want to go back and forth. I'm not finna do all that lip boxing. I delivered the load. Hey, bro, where my bread at? Oh, y'all ain't finna pay me on that? Okay, I'm just gonna file against a bond. That's why brokers supposed to be bonded. And a lot of people don't want to do that, but I don't see why not. If they ain't gonna pay your bread, file against a bond and let it go from there. You just keep it moving. I'm not going to sit up in here and make a YouTube video about them without filing on their bond to try and get my money.
Exactly. But yeah, I've heard of that, y'all. That's real talk. Yeah, I've had people hit me up sometimes and they be like, it ain't worth it. They done gave their authority up after only 6 months. Sometimes it be people just with their own truck. Sometimes people with like 2 or 3 trucks. And it ain't no joke. You have to take this thing seriously. But the one thing I have to say is people get into this trucking thing and they're going to make all this money. And they'll really take it to the fact of the stress that you putting yourself through.
Wait a minute. What you say that people make all this money and then what happens?
They get out here and truck and think they're going to make all this money and they don't realize exactly what they're getting themselves into. Trucking is a beast. If you're not seasoned for it, if you don't love it, if you are not any kind of a self-discipline type person, it'll wear you out. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny though because, you know, I've been out here for a few days, spent a few nights in the truck, and I hear these different stories and stuff about people, you know, saying that they ain't making no money in trucking, they ain't doing this. I be like, well, where did you come from?
Yeah.
Because if you came from the average job, you probably tripling the money. If not, I know you doubling the money per week, unless you was an engineer or a doctor or something like that. And if that's the case, you probably shouldn't be trucking. But if you was getting $1,000 every 2 weeks, now you're getting $1,000 a week. I don't understand why people have such a difficult time managing the money when they getting in trucking when it's almost doubling what the average person came from. I've yet to figure out, you know what I'm saying, how to help those people who struggle with the finances in trucking. But I also tell people, if you was bad with money before trucking ain't, it's no red or blue pill here that's gonna make you better with money once you start trucking.
Oh Lord, he's speaking the truth. What else did I want to ask you? Something else I want to ask you. How do you balance? Okay, do you have a CPA that helps you with everything, or do you do everything yourself?
No, I do everything myself, and I actually was going to do a video about this computer program that I use that's very similar to QuickBooks, except it's free. Because I don't understand. I'm not going to pay for QuickBooks when I can get any program. All you basically need is to do your own stuff. All you basically need is 12 profit and loss statements. That's pretty much going to tell you where you at for the year. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have my own CPA. Sometimes I take some to a particular person, but I just tell them like this. I was like, man, if I'm going to pay you, I don't want to pay nobody else. And that's all I'm going to say about that. You know what I'm saying? But 9 times out of 10, I handle the majority of the stuff myself.
Okay. So,
but if I can't get something where I want to get it, then I'll take it somewhere, and I'll be like, if I got to pay you, I don't want to pay nobody else, and if I do, then I got to find somebody else.
Okay. So, one more question, and I know you got to go. You got things you probably got to do. In your opinion, with having your own authority, and so much paperwork with the IFTA registration, and people get caught up in taxes. There's so many owner-ops that I talk to that owe back taxes, right? And they mess around, they get caught up. The next year, beginning of the year, is not a good year for a lot of us. So, in your opinion, in your experience, is it better to pay quarterly, or is it better to pay yearly?
We talking about taxes, or we talking about paperwork? What are we talking about?
Both. Like, because I know it's so much going to when you have to do your taxes when you have your own authority.
It's not as hard to have your own authority as people make it if you have a system in place when you start. It's hard to play catch up when you don't have no system and you got to go back and try and organize everything. But having your own authority ain't no different than paying your bills at your house. You know what I'm saying? everything, it's a category for everything, and everything has its place. So it's not difficult as far as the paperwork is concerned. Tedious, maybe. Difficult, not at all. As far as the whole tax thing, it all comes down to an individual preference, whether you gonna pay taxes quarterly, if you gonna pay them yearly. In my opinion, if you got a business and you work for yourself, the only time you should be paying taxes is if you are trying to buy something. Because if you don't pay taxes, or if you get a tax refund when you go to buy something, they look at that as corporate welfare. And businesses are not going to give you anything or loan you any money if you're not paying taxes. If you don't plan to buy anything, or, apply for no loans or anything like that, and you paying taxes, you probably need to get a different CPA. Bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line. And that's all I'm going to say about that. People can take what they want from it or whatever, but that's just my opinion. And like I said, I ain't been out here that long, so
You've been out you making jokes. You've been out here 10 years. Come on now. Really. But some people have you be surprised. I guess because I'm a female, I get hit up a lot from different guys, so they had to hang it up because they couldn't pay their taxes. They got behind. Personal things happened. They had a wife run through the money and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And IRS take their authority. I mean, all kind of stuff goes on. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, but you was making so much money. You was taking home $7,000-$8,000 a year for a while. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering, like,
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off or whatever, but when you look at the whole tax thing, and when you really understand the whole tax thing, there's so many loopholes, the X, Y, and Z. If you approach it right from the beginning, like I said before, it's hard to play catch up, and things happen in people's lives where they burn through money, or they do this, or they do that. So everybody's situation gonna be different. But in a nutshell, if you're not trying to buy nothing, you should be paying very minimum on taxes, next to none. Period.
Don't say that, because Uncle Sam will get your ass. Like, when
Say that again?
Uncle Sam will get your ass, though, and they'll say you owe.
Uncle Sam will hit you?
Yeah, they hit your ass up. Like, I think when
it's
Swift,
Uncle Sam will hit you, but if you structure everything right and you do everything right, then, Uncle Sam got it set up to where, he'll let you be also.
I don't understand that. Uncle Sam ain't never let me goddamn be. Either I owe.
I'm sorry?
Uncle Sam ain't never let me be. Uncle Sam always get my ass.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam ain't never just been like, oh shit, we gonna leave you alone this year. Don't worry about it. No, ain't been none of that. None of that.
Well, if you get you a good CPA, Uncle Sam will let you be, or you won't even miss what you paying into him.
Maybe so. Nah, that ain't been the case for me. When I was at Swift and I was training and I made all that money, right? They said that I owe like $7,000 at the end of the year.
Well, now you talking about $7,000 for the year?
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but if I go to a CPA and they like, oh, you got to pay them $7,000, I'm gonna be like, okay, you're a cool CPA, I can live with that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, $7,000 is a lot of money, but I remember when I was making $30,000-$40,000 a year, I was paying in $5,000. Now, granted, I was getting a tax return, you know what I'm saying? But when you look at it like that, it's not a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. 7 bands is a lot of money to me. Now, you big bank over there. That's all authority.
It's a lot of money to you because you didn't prepare for it.
Yeah. I was a newbie. I was excited.
I'm sorry?
I was a newbie. I was excited. My first time training, first time leasing, and all that good stuff.
You was a newbie, but I don't really accept excuses from people when we got YouTube. YouTube University can open you up to a whole bunch of different things. You know what I'm saying? I tell people that all the time, man. YouTube got pretty much, between YouTube and Google, which I guess is the same thing, but anyway, it's nothing that you should be able to make an excuse about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I didn't know. I had no guiding hand when I jumped out here. I jumped out here out on faith. I had nobody else to back me up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. Just like I said, I pulled cheap freight, and I ain't making no excuses. You know what I'm saying? I pulled cheap freight, bottom line, because I didn't go to YouTube and do my research. Had I went to YouTube and done my research, I wouldn't have been pulling that garbage freight. So ain't no excuse for me pulling cheap freight. I pulled cheap freight when I first got my authority.
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell people? I'm getting ready to let you go. Let me see how long we've been on here. Because now YouTube will mess with me. YouTube will mess with me once I get on here like for 45 minutes or so. They'll cut me off, y'all. Y'all know that.
Only thing, you know what I'm saying, in closing, I just want to remind people, man, stop believing all these people who making videos in the trucking space. Stop believing everything people say. Don't even believe everything I say. Research it for yourself. If I tell you something, go try it first before you believe it. Don't believe it just because it came out my mouth. You know, I'm not making no video that's a lie or anything like that. But at the same time, I don't want to put myself in a different category from everybody else. Don't believe none of us without doing your own due diligence and applying what we say first. After you get the results from what we say, then believe us. And that go for all of us who making videos in the trucking space, because it's a lot of people out there misleading people. You know what I'm saying? And
most definitely.
You know, they say, you know, a rotten apple don't fall too far from the tree, but even when it falls, it really ain't that far from the good apple. So, you know what I'm saying? I realized that when you looking at a tree. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave y'all with that.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the infamous ICEWATER trucker. Make sure you go follow him on YouTube. I'm going to leave a couple links to his video online. And also to your IG page, right? We're also putting it up too, right? That's going up right on here. You don't have a Facebook or a Twitter, do you? I don't think you do.
No, I'm not on Facebook. I'm just on YouTube and IG, and I'm probably on YouTube more than IG.
Okay. Well, I'll leave a link and all that to your information on here. I thank you so much for being on tonight. You definitely dropped a lot of jewels. Not a few, but a lot of jewels tonight. And hopefully it helps somebody that watches this or watches this on the replay. You definitely helped me out a lot. I definitely have a lot of respect for you. Always have, and I always will, hopefully. And I'm definitely going to make sure I stay tuned into watching you, because you never disappoint, ever. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't no problem, Queen. My pleasure. You know what I'm saying? You done supported me from day one, so I just had to return the love.
All right. I love you much. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for watching. Y'all know the deal. Don't leave this page without hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, and all that good stuff. Keep the notifications turned on. And it's your girl, Shay.
All right, you be safe out there, man. You keep that left door closed.